In the deepest quiet of the night, when the world has gone to sleep and the day's noise has faded, do you ever find yourself there, in the stillness? But it's not peaceful, is it? It's a battleground. Your mind, a relentless theater of war, replaying every mistake, rehearsing every fear. That one thing you said, that one thing you should have said. The anxiety about tomorrow, the regrets from yesterday. Your heart starts to beat a little faster. A cold dread seeps into your stomach, and suddenly you're not in a quiet room anymore. You're spiraling, lost in a storm of your own making. And you feel this incredible, crushing sense of helplessness, as if you are a passenger in your own body, at the mercy of a mind that seems intent on self-sabotage. You're not alone. We've all been there, standing at the edge of that emotional cliff, watching our inner peace crumble into 1,000 fractured pieces. And in those moments, we often ask ourselves, what's wrong with me? We see others, the seemingly unbothered, the effortlessly calm, and we believe they were just born that way, that they possess some innate strength we were denied. We start to believe we are broken, we are flawed, we are not strong enough. But let me tell you something. With every fiber of my being, you are not broken. You are not weak. You are not flawed. You are just operating on a deeply ingrained, prehistoric operating system. See, your brain, it was never designed to keep you calm. It was forged in the fire of survival. Its sole non-negotiable mission is to keep you alive. That's it. And that is a distinction that changes everything. Think of it like a sentry, a relentless lookout standing watch at the highest turret of a castle. That sentry is your amygdala, the most ancient, primal part of your brain. And its job, to constantly scan the horizon for threats, for danger, not for peace, for problems. A flicker in the shadows, a sudden shift in the wind. The sentry sounds the alarm. Boom. In an instant, your nervous system is a live wire, and that alert turns your body into a weapon. Heart hammering, palms slick with sweat, thoughts racing like a runaway train. This isn't a sign of weakness. It's a brilliant piece of biological engineering, a legacy of a time when a wrong step meant becoming a meal. You feel fear, not because you're a coward, but because your body believes a lion is just around the corner. You get angry and lash out, not because you're a bad person, but because your brain thinks it's under attack. This is your primal wiring doing its job, the beautiful, terrifying, messy job of keeping you alive. So for God's sake, stop beating yourself up. Stop judging yourself for having a human nervous system. Your reaction is the product of an old program, a ghost from a past life. But here's the secret, the key that unlocks the cage you've been living in. You can write a new program. You can rewire your own mind. You can't change what you don't understand. And for too long, we've been trying to force change without understanding the machine. But once you see the panic for what it is, a misguided, frantic attempt at protection, you create a sacred space between the trigger and the reaction. That space, that is where your power resides. That is where you become the master, not the puppet. That's where you get to choose your response, instead of just repeating the same old cycle of yelling, spiraling, and shutting down. But you don't get to access that choice by waiting for the storm to arrive. You have to train for it. Let me ask you this. How often do you practice being calm when everything is going right? When life is quiet and easy and beautiful? Most of us only try to be calm when we're already drowning. We wait until the chaos is overwhelming before we attempt to find our peace. But that's like waiting for the championship fight to practice your first punch. You can't expect to be a warrior in the heat of battle if you haven't built the muscle for it in times of peace. Your brain needs repetition. It needs habits. It needs proof that you are safe, even when the world feels unpredictable. Calm isn't a personality trait. Calm is a skill. It's a muscle. It's built. One deliberate breath, one conscious pause, one intentional choice at a time. It's forged in the quiet moments of awareness, in the radical honesty you have with yourself, and in the small, monumental decision to choose your inner peace over your immediate knee-jerk reaction. The amygdala, the fear center of your brain, it activates in less than a fifth of a second. It's lightning fast. It has to be. But you know what else you have? You have a prefrontal cortex. That's the rational, problem-solving, decision-making part of your brain. It's the captain of the ship. But here's the catch. It's slow. It needs time to come online. It needs a moment to assess the situation, to remember the training, to make a clear-headed choice. And that moment is the pause. That's what training your mind is all about. It's learning how to catch yourself in the white-hot heat of the moment before your old wiring takes over. It's learning to disrupt the panic, the anger, the fear, and choose something different, something better. And yes, that takes work. That takes self-awareness. That takes doing the hard stuff when you don't feel like it. But if you want to own your life, you must own your mind. Because the world isn't going to slow down for you. The challenges will keep coming. The people will keep pushing your buttons. The setbacks will still arrive. But when you train your mind to stay calm, none of that can shake you the same way. You become unshakable. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. Your calm becomes your power. Your presence becomes your anchor. And instead of reacting to life, you start responding with intention. You stop being a puppet on the strings of your emotions, and you start taking back control. And that, my friend, is not a gift. It's a decision. It's a skill. And it's one that you can start building right now. Emotions, they are the vibrant pulse of the human experience. They can drive us to greatness, connect us to others, and inspire us to grow. But here is the profound, liberating truth that most people miss. Your emotions are data, not directives. Just because you feel something doesn't mean you have to act on it. Just because an emotion feels urgent or overwhelming doesn't mean it is a fundamental fact. Your feelings are valid, absolutely, but they are not the truth. They are signals, not orders. Think of it like this. Your brain processes everything you see, hear, remember, and believe. It then assigns an emotional meaning to that information. That's where a feeling comes from. But that process, it's not always pure. It is a filter, heavily influenced by your past traumas, your childhood fears, your deepest insecurities. So when you feel a wave of anxiety or a surge of anger, you are often not reacting to what is happening right now. You are reacting to what this moment reminds you of. That disagreement with your partner? It might not even be about the dishes. It might be a ghost of a past betrayal. The anxiety you feel about your future? It could be the echo of a fear you've carried for years. That's why learning to observe your emotions is so vital. Not to suppress them, not to ignore them, but to understand them. When you pause and get curious about what you're feeling, you create a gap, a powerful moment of awareness. You get to ask yourself, is this real? Or is this a story I'm telling myself? Is this emotion giving me an insight? Or is it pulling me into a reaction I'll regret? This is emotional intelligence. And it is a skill, not a trait. Most of us grew up never being taught how to interpret our own feelings. We were told to calm down or to get over it. So we either bottle everything up until we explode, or we let our emotions run the entire show without question. Neither of those approaches will ever lead you to peace. Real strength comes from understanding that your emotions are messages. And just like any message, you get to choose how you respond. Just because fear shows up doesn't mean you have to listen. Just because anger rises doesn't mean you have to yell. Just because you feel like giving up doesn't mean you should. One of the most empowering habits you can ever build is checking in with yourself. Pause. Ask, what am I feeling right now? Where is it coming from? What's the story I'm telling myself about this feeling? And is that story even true? That step alone, that simple act of asking, can help bring the rational part of your brain back online. It helps you see more clearly, respond more wisely, and avoid creating more chaos than is necessary. For example, you feel anxious about a presentation. Your mind starts racing. What if I mess up? What if they judge me? The anxiety is real, but it is not a verdict. It doesn't mean you're going to fail. It just means your brain is trying to protect you from a perceived threat. But if you can recognize it as a signal, not a judgment, you can shift from panic to purpose. When you stop automatically reacting to your emotions, you begin to reclaim your peace. You stop being a puppet on the strings of every passing mood swing, every spike of self-doubt. Instead, you become grounded. You become a person who can feel deeply but still act with clarity and wisdom. That doesn't make you cold or detached. It makes you unstoppable. Emotions will always be part of the human journey. You can't get rid of them, and you shouldn't want to. They are what give life richness and depth. But when you learn that emotions are information, not commands, you stop letting them drive your every decision. You start making choices based on your values, not your moods. You start responding to life from a place of strength, not reactivity. That's when everything changes. That's when you become someone who isn't just living. You're leading yourself with intention, from the inside out. Every time you react without thinking, every time you snap, panic, or spiral, it's because your brain has skipped the pause. That sacred tiny fraction of a second between a trigger and your reaction, that is where all your power lives. And when you train your mind to insert that pause, everything changes. You stop being a victim of your impulses. You stop letting the chaos of the world dictate how you feel and what you do. Instead, you create space to choose, and that is the true life-altering power of the pause. The pause is not just a feel-good concept. It is a scientifically backed, neurologically sound strategy. When something triggers you, whether it's stress, fear, or frustration, your brain instantly activates the amygdala. It's the fight or flight center, and it was built for survival, not for thoughtful, rational decision-making. When it takes over, it floods your body with cortisol and adrenaline, the very chemistry of panic. That's why your heart races. That's why your mind goes blank. Your body is preparing for a fight, even if the threat is just a rude email or someone cutting you off in traffic. But here's the wild, beautiful secret. If you can pause for even a few seconds, you give your prefrontal cortex a chance to come online. That's the rational, calm, problem-solving part of your brain. It's slower than the amygdala, but it is infinitely smarter. It helps you process context, regulate your emotions, and make decisions based on your long-term goals instead of your short-term knee-jerk reactions. When you pause, you aren't just calming down, you are changing the very chemistry of your brain. You are shifting from a state of panic to a state of power. And you don't need a 30-minute meditation session to do it. Sometimes all it takes is a breath. One slow, intentional breath can be enough to create the space you need to choose your next move. That breath interrupts the automatic loop. It's like hitting the brakes before you drive off a cliff. In that moment, you can ask yourself, what's really going on here? What do I actually want to do? Who do I want to be in this situation? That's the secret. You don't have to suppress your emotions. You just have to slow them down long enough to make a choice. And the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. Like any muscle, the pause gets stronger with repetition. At first, you'll catch yourself after the fact. You'll react, then think, damn it, I should have paused. That's okay. That's part of the process. Over time, you'll start catching yourself in the moment. Then, eventually, you'll be able to pause before you even react. That's when you know the training is working. Think about how powerful that is. How different your relationships would be if you paused before lashing out. How many regrets you could avoid if you paused before making an impulsive choice. That pause gives you control, not over the world, but over yourself. And that, my friend, is more than enough. The world is loud, it's fast, it's chaotic, it's easy to get swept up in it all. But when you build the habit of pausing, you anchor yourself. You create an inner stillness that doesn't depend on external circumstances. You become the calm in the storm instead of being tossed around by it. And here's what's truly beautiful. You always have access to the pause. No matter what's happening, no matter how crazy things get, that space is always there. You just have to remember to use it. The more you practice, the more automatic it becomes. You won't always get it right, but that's not the point. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is awareness. The goal is progress. So next time life hits you with something hard, don't react. Pause, breathe, get curious, and then respond with intention. That one decision to pause might feel small in the moment, but it is everything. It is the beginning of emotional strength, clarity, and confidence. It is how you take back control of your mind, one breath at a time. Your breath, it is the most powerful, most readily available tool you have to calm your mind. And yet, most people completely overlook it. We breathe all day, every day, without ever giving it a second thought. But here is the truth you need to understand. How you breathe directly impacts your mental and emotional state. When you're stressed, scared, or overwhelmed, your breathing becomes shallow and rapid. Your body does this automatically, a subconscious signal that something is wrong, that you are in danger. Shallow breathing sends a clear message to your nervous system. Danger. Danger. Prepare to fight, flee, or freeze. But now, flip that around. When you breathe slowly and deeply, especially from your diaphragm, you send the opposite message. You are telling your nervous system, we are safe, everything is okay, you don't need to panic. That one shift in your breathing can completely transform how you feel in an instant. It can interrupt a spiral of anxiety. It can stop an outburst of anger. It can help you focus, think clearly, and respond with intention. And the best part? You always have your breath. No matter where you are, no matter what's happening, no matter how out of control things feel, you can always pause and breathe. That's real power. That's inner control. You don't need a quiet room, a meditation app, or a yoga mat. You just need a moment and a decision to tune in. There's a reason why Navy SEALs, elite athletes, world-class public speakers, and even surgeons train with breathing exercises. Because it works. One of the most effective techniques is called box breathing. It is ridiculously simple. You breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold again for 4, then repeat. What this does is nothing short of incredible. It balances your nervous system. It engages your parasympathetic response, the rest and digest mode, that helps your body calm down. It clears your mind. It grounds you. You might be thinking, seriously? Just breathing? Yes, seriously. Because when your body calms down, your mind follows. And when your mind is calm, you make better decisions. You become more patient, more present, more powerful. That's not hype. That's science. Your breath is like a remote control for your brain. Most people just never learn how to use it. Think about how different your day would be if you built this into your routine. Imagine starting your morning, not with the chaos of your phone, but with 3 deep, intentional breaths. Imagine using your breath before walking into a tense meeting, before responding to a difficult email, before having a tough conversation with someone you love. It becomes a pause button for your nervous system. It becomes a moment of choice. And here's something else. Your breath is a direct path to self-awareness. When you're disconnected from your breath, you are usually also disconnected from your body and your emotions. You're stuck in your head, caught in overthinking, reacting automatically. But when you return to your breath, you return to yourself. You drop back into the present moment. You stop living in the past or fearing the future, and start showing up for what is happening now. This isn't about turning into a monk or pretending life doesn't get messy. It's about giving yourself the tools to navigate the mess without losing yourself in it. Life will still throw challenges your way. People will still frustrate you. Situations will still stress you out. But with your breath as your anchor, you don't have to be at the mercy of it all. You stay centered. You stay calm. You stay in control. The next time you feel tension rising in your body, stop. Close your eyes for a second if you can. Inhale deeply through your nose. Hold it. Exhale slowly through your mouth. Do it again. Feel the shift. Feel the space open up in your chest, your shoulders, your mind. That's your power. That's your reset button. Don't wait until you're overwhelmed to use it. Start making your breath a part of your daily routine. Practice when things are calm, so it's there for you when they aren't. Because the more you use your breath intentionally, the more you teach your brain and body that calm is your baseline, not chaos. Your breath is your power. Use it. Train with it. Trust it. Because in the middle of a storm, when everything else feels out of control, it might be the one thing that brings you back to peace. The way you speak to yourself matters more than most people realize. Your internal dialogue is shaping your reality every single day. Whether you are aware of it or not, you are constantly narrating your life. You're interpreting events, assigning meaning to them, judging yourself, predicting the future, and it's all happening in your head. That voice in your mind, it is influencing how you feel, how you act, and what you believe is possible. So here's the most critical question you can ever ask yourself. Is that voice building you up or tearing you down? Most of us have developed an inner voice that is far more critical than it is kind. It's a voice that doubts us before we even start, that replays mistakes on an endless loop, that panics over the future and talks us out of opportunities. It says things like, I can't handle this, I'm not good enough, or this is going to be a disaster. And the scary part is, when you hear something often enough, especially from your own mind, you start to believe it. It becomes your truth. Not because it is true, but because it is familiar. This is why training your mind to stay calm must include training your self-talk. You cannot create a calm, centered life if the voice in your head is constantly screaming, doubting, and criticizing. That's like trying to meditate in the middle of a rock concert. It's not going to work. The chaos inside will always override any calm you try to create outside. But here's the good news. Just like any habit, self-talk can be rewired. You can learn to speak to yourself with intention. You can replace those automatic negative loops with thoughts that empower you instead of exhausting you. It starts with awareness. You have to catch yourself in the act. Start listening to what you're saying silently throughout the day. When something goes wrong, what's your immediate thought? Do you call yourself stupid? Do you assume you failed? Do you panic and spiral? That awareness is the first, most crucial step. You can't change a pattern you aren't even aware of. Once you catch the negative self-talk, don't just fight it, replace it. This is where affirmations come in. But not the fluffy fake kind. I'm talking about grounded, believable, powerful statements that calm your nervous system and shift your mindset. Things like, I can figure this out, I've been through worse and made it through, right now I choose to respond, not react. These phrases are more than words. They are commands to your brain. They guide your focus. They anchor your thinking. They begin to shape your identity. And your identity is everything. If you keep telling yourself you're an anxious person, you'll keep looking for reasons to feel anxious. If you believe you're someone who can't handle stress, your brain will look for evidence to prove that true. But if you start saying, I'm calm under pressure, and you back that up with action, your brain starts building a new story. And that new story becomes your new truth. It's not about lying to yourself. It's about choosing a more empowering narrative. This doesn't mean you'll never feel fear, doubt, or overwhelm again. Of course you will. You're human. But with trained self-talk, you learn to lead yourself through those moments, instead of being dragged by them. Your self-talk becomes a steady guide when everything else feels shaky. You start coaching yourself like someone who actually wants to win, instead of someone who's just trying to survive. Think about athletes in high-stakes moments. They don't stand there saying, "Oh God, I hope I don't mess this up." No, they lock in. They talk themselves through it. They say, "You've trained for this. Stay focused. You've got this." That kind of language creates calm. It builds confidence. It directs energy toward what matters. You can do the same thing every single day. Start small. Talk to yourself like you would talk to your best friend. Firm, but kind. Honest, but encouraging. When you mess up, say, "That wasn't my best, but I'm learning." When you're scared, say, "This is hard, but I have the tools to handle it." Over time, that voice becomes your anchor. It becomes the soundtrack of resilience in your mind. Your thoughts are not facts, but they do shape your experience. So if you want to stay calm, you've got to train that inner voice to support you, not sabotage you. You don't have to believe every single thought you think. You get to choose which ones you repeat, and the ones you repeat, that is the life you will create. Calm is not something you find. It is something you build. And like any skill, it takes practice. It's not a switch you flip. It's a muscle you train. You can't expect to be calm under pressure if you never practice calm when life is quiet. You can't show up with control and clarity in the storm if you haven't built that foundation in the stillness. It's like expecting to run a marathon without training. Your mind needs reps too. This is where routines, habits, and small daily practices come into play. They aren't just about productivity. They are about training your nervous system. They are about wiring your brain to feel safe, grounded, and focused, especially when life gets chaotic. Think of your daily practices as emotional conditioning. Just like lifting weights strengthens your body, these small intentional actions strengthen your emotional stability. Let's talk about mornings. The way you start your day sets the tone for everything that follows. If you wake up and immediately check your phone, scroll through the news, or dive into emails, you're handing your peace over to the world before you've even claimed it for yourself. Your brain starts reacting before it has a chance to breathe. That's not calm, that's chaos disguised as normal. So, what do you do instead? You anchor. You build a morning that protects your mind, even if it's just 10 minutes. Maybe it's sitting in silence with your coffee. Maybe it's a few minutes of journaling, a quiet walk, or simply taking 3 deep breaths before you reach for your phone. Whatever it is, it should remind your brain, I'm in charge. I'm not reacting. I'm responding. I'm starting this day with intention, not noise. The same goes for your evenings. A deliberate wind-down routine matters. Your brain needs to feel like there's a rhythm to your day, a clear end to the chaos. Dim the lights, put your phone away, reflect, breathe. These things seem small, but they build mental discipline. They tell your nervous system you're safe to relax. That consistency is what helps you stay calm when life throws surprises your way. Because your brain remembers, we've been here before, we know what to do, and here's something else most people overlook. The people you surround yourself with and the content you consume are also part of your emotional training. If your environment is constantly loud, dramatic, negative, or overwhelming, your brain will mirror that energy. It stays on high alert. But if you start curating what you allow into your space, whether that's people, media, or even background noise, you give yourself a better chance at keeping your internal world grounded. Training your mind to stay calm also involves practicing what I call mini resets throughout the day. Don't wait until you're overwhelmed. Build in breaks. Take 60 seconds to breathe, stretch, or step outside. These small resets interrupt the buildup of stress before it becomes too much. They keep your baseline lower, your patience longer, and your clarity sharper. Another powerful practice is reflection. At the end of the day, take just a few minutes to ask yourself, where did I feel calm today? Where did I lose my peace? What triggered me? What helped me get back to center? These questions help you spot patterns, and when you see the patterns, you can change them. This is how self-awareness grows. This is how emotional intelligence is built. And look, you don't have to do all of this perfectly. That's not the point. The point is to build a toolkit. You're not trying to become someone who never feels stress or fear or frustration. You're becoming someone who knows how to handle it. Someone who has practiced staying calm. Someone who doesn't crumble every time life gets loud. That's real power. That's resilience. So no, calm isn't something reserved for monks or gurus. It's not about escaping life. It's about engaging with it differently. It's about building a strong inner world so that the outer world doesn't shake you as easily. And that kind of calm, that's earned. One small practice at a time. Every single day. That's how you train your mind. That's how you build the version of you that doesn't just survive chaos, but rises above it. In life, things will go wrong, plans will fall apart, people will disappoint you. You will get blindsided by something you never saw coming. That's just a fundamental, unchanging reality. You can't control every situation, every outcome, or every person. But you can control one incredibly powerful thing: your response. And when you train yourself to respond instead of react, you stop being a victim of circumstance and start becoming a master of your own peace. Here's the truth. Most people go through life on autopilot, constantly reacting to whatever happens around them. Someone cuts them off in traffic, and they snap. Their boss criticizes them, and they shut down. A goal gets delayed, and they spiral into doubt or self-pity. It's all knee-jerk, automatic. No pause, no control. And that's exactly what makes life feel so overwhelming and chaotic. You're letting everything outside of you dictate what's happening inside of you. But here's the profound shift. You don't have to give that power away. You don't have to let your emotions run the show every time something goes sideways. You get to choose your response. That's where real strength comes from. Not from avoiding problems, but from managing them with clarity, patience, and grounded thinking. You become someone who doesn't crumble under pressure. You become the person in the room who stays calm when everyone else is losing their heads. Not because you're cold or detached, but because you've trained for it. Now, choosing to respond instead of react doesn't mean pretending everything's fine. It doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or being robotic. It means you allow the emotion to rise, but you don't become the emotion. You notice the anger, the fear, the frustration, and then you decide what to do with it. That decision, that is what separates leaders from followers. Peace from panic. Let's say something unexpected happens. You lose a deal. Your partner says something that hits a nerve, or a project completely collapses. Your initial instinct might be to lash out, shut down, or catastrophize. That's normal. But instead of reacting right away, you take a breath, you pause, you give your brain a second to shift from emotional reactivity to thoughtful awareness. In that pause, you ask yourself, what's the best response here? What would the strongest version of me do right now? That moment of awareness, that's everything. That's where change happens. That's where calm lives. Responding instead of reacting also means taking full responsibility for your mindset. You stop blaming everything around you for how you feel. Yes, people can be frustrating. Yes, life can be unfair. But when you train your mind to respond, you stop saying, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, what can I do about it? That shift puts you back in the driver's seat. It reminds you that your power doesn't come from controlling the world. It comes from controlling yourself. It also makes you a better communicator. When you're reacting, you speak from raw emotion, often with words you later regret. But when you respond, you communicate with intention. You still express what you feel, but you do it in a way that invites understanding, not conflict. You create space for clarity. You make better decisions. You reduce damage. You build trust. Over time, responding instead of reacting becomes a habit. At first, it'll be clunky. You'll catch yourself mid-reaction and have to slow down. Sometimes you'll still snap or spiral. That's okay. That's part of learning. But every time you choose to pause and respond, you're rewiring your brain. You're strengthening your self-regulation. And eventually it becomes your default mode. That's the kind of person you want to be. Not someone who never feels emotion, but someone who doesn't let emotion control them. Not someone who never faces problems, but someone who always shows up calm, steady, and clear, no matter what the situation is. You won't always be able to change what happens to you, but you always have the power to choose what you do next. And that power, that's the foundation of a calm, resilient, and powerful life. That's how you take control, not just of the moment, but of your future. Because when you respond instead of react, you don't just survive the chaos, you rise above it, every single time.